Hey guys, Martin here bringing you another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video, and so today I wanted to have a little bit of a discussion about the number of banners that have been releasing in Dokkan over quite a short time, and then the issue, I guess, with the amount of content that is coming out in some of these celebrations, the amount of stones that is available for summoning on all of these banners. Now, obviously you guys know when a new banner comes out, I do a summon or skip video, and I basically always talk about how in those videos, if you're someone who is free to play or like a low spender on the game, obviously you shouldn't be summoning on every banner. A lot of banners are essentially just there to bait out your stones for things like the anniversary, which is, you know, the main thing you should be looking at. The anniversary units usually are the best units in the game when they come out. But even so, there are people out there, you know, who you want to collect certain units. A certain unit comes out that is maybe one of your favorite characters in the franchise or something like that. And it can get quite overwhelming, especially if you are wanting to be a bit of a collector, even if you only want like one copy of every unit and stuff, right? That can be very, very difficult. And don't get me wrong, like, we have to remember it is a gacha game, right? The idea is they want your money. There's only a certain amount of free stones they're going to give out. Dokkan has been giving out a bunch of like free tickets and stuff, which is really cool. There's more ways to do summons than ever before, like the summon points and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, it's interesting to see exactly how much is being released in such a short time, because I included the Tanabata here, or the Transcendent Dokkan campaign, because I actually was kind of surprised when I double checked the dates just how quickly some of these banners had released, like right after each other, and it was actually a little bit quicker than I had originally remembered before opening up all these pages to get the video started, right? So if we go ahead and take a look at the date here, we can see we got the Golden Frieza and Gogeta, the part 1 Tanabata unit. The banner came out on the 8th of September, and that was part 1, right? Then we moved on to the Broly Rising Dragon Carnival, and that was on the 22nd. So from the 8th to the 22nd, so that's literally what, 14 days, which is 2 weeks. So 2 weeks later, this banner came out in the game, and it was double rates. It had Gotenks and Ken and Caulifla. Decent banner. Broly, obviously, you know, say what we will about him and his overall quality as a unit. Obviously, he's just kind of there to be a festival destroyer, which he does do very well, but not so great in other content. But you know, he can do well there, which is seemingly what he was designed for. So you know, there is that. But that banner came out 2 weeks later. Now, I have not gone over a lot of the I haven't brought up the details here for the Tanabata campaign in terms of the content. There was a decent amount. Tanabata is one of those like mini celebrations, but these guys were both really good. People definitely tempted to summon. It was a cool, like, sort of what if scenario with the Gogeta and the Frieza. But then we move into where it starts to get a little bit more fast paced, because I didn't realize this banner came out on the 22nd, right, of the 9th, and then Baby, who was the next Dokkan Fest, dropped on the 30th of September. So he came out literally 8 days after the part 2 LR Tanabata banner, which is of absolutely no time at all, really, in between, like a week between those two banners. And we will take a look at the list of content for the Baby campaign, because we had Baby's banner come out. This was on the 30th of the 9th, and then the part 2 LR was the corrupted Gohan and Goten, and they came out on the 16th. So again, roughly 2 weeks later, 16, 17 days after the part 1, which is usually what we would expect for a small time celebration. But it was interesting to see that the gap between these two banners was so much smaller than I thought it was going to be, or at least smaller than I remembered. Going from the 22nd of the 9th with like a big LR double rates banner, which is obviously tempting to summon on because of the double rates, and then going to dropping the Baby banner like 8 days later. And then, yeah, we had the part 2 banner here as well with Goten and Gohan. So if we take a look at the Baby celebration, obviously they update it so part 2 is now at the top. But part 2, We got the Super Easy A for Majin Vegeta. Super Easy A's obviously don't give out like a crazy amount of stones. Intensifying fights, I think there's like 3 missions usually, which you end up with about 15 stones. Then we had a support memory, new stage of Union Master, that's a couple of stones. I think it's like 5 for each mission, right? Then we had an ESBR, which drops like 7. So far we're already talking, like, with all the stuff that's here on the page, we're still talking less than 50 stones, like less than a multi's worth of content here with the part 2 stuff. And then yeah, part 1 we had Baby, obviously Dokkan Day, we did get the free tickets, the special missions, the EX missions for the Seriously Serious event, the giant form stages coming out, that was certainly interesting. Easy A for Super 17, it's obviously around 30 stones. There was a world tournament in the middle of the celebration, which if you just farm the bare minimum missions to get all of the, like 30 million points to get all the missions completed, you do end up with more stones than you started with, depending on how much stamina you have. So there are a few extra stones there. The Seriously Serious event obviously had a bunch of missions, Union Master, ESBR. So part 1 seemingly a decent little bit more content than part 2. But even when you add all of this stuff up, not taking into account like daily login bonuses and stuff like that, with the new stages of new events and the missions that we're dropping, we're not talking more than like 100 stones for part 1, and part 2 we barely even got to 50. So bearing in mind that the Baby banner came out 8 days after the Tanabata ended, and in the entire Baby celebration, again not including like login bonus and stuff like that, there's only about 150 to 200 stones worth of content. Now, again, it goes back to what I was saying at the beginning, like, these banners probably should have been pretty easy skips for most people, especially if you are free to play, but then we get the run that we're in now. So we went from the 16th of October, we had the Gohan and Goten banner, then we had Daima Goku come out on the 30th, so that's 2 weeks later. You can see we're kind of in a pattern of like 2 weeks, which has somewhat been a thing throughout the years for Dokkan. There's obviously that short gap between the end of the Tanabata and Baby, but this came out on the 30th with the Daima Goku. But then we also had the manga characters, who are obviously like a special collector's edition type thing. These guys came out on the 6th of the 11th. I don't know if I could, yeah, I didn't show the date on the screen here. But yeah, 30th of the 10th for Daima Goku. Then this banner came out on the 6th of the 11th, so that's 1 week later. Now, they made these units really easy to get. Like, if you want to collect them, it's like 3 guaranteed per multi. Multis were only 30 stones. Pity was at like after like 4 multis. It took me 8 multis and like doing the pity twice, so like 240 stones to get all of them rainbowed. But we'll see when it comes to the actual content, quote unquote content that came out around this. This is another thing thrown in a week after Daima Goku, right? And then this was out on the 6th of the 11th, and of course now we have Goma, who came out on the 13th of the 11th, so yet another week gap. So we went from the end of the Baby celebration, 2 weeks, and then Daima Goku, a week later the manga units, and a week later Goma. Now if we take a look at the celebration for Daima Goku, obviously the Goma one is just starting now, so we've still got some other stuff to come out. We got the we've got things like the burst mode, intensifying fights, ESBR, like this stuff's all coming out in a couple of days' time. So in terms of Goma having released now, Goma released with like what? There was like one thing, I can't even remember what it was now, one stage that came out on the same day as Goma, and then the Petan. And that's basically it. So in terms of like, if you had no stones when Goma came out, there wasn't really any content that released with him. And then the free tickets for Dokkan Day came out like a couple of days after he released. And then if we look at part 1, obviously we had the usual stuff for the celebration, EX missions. The update to the Daima Story event literally just added a drop to an existing stage, so there was no like new stage to do or anything like that. The Daima Extreme Z area, you get a couple of stones out of that. Battlefield resetting gives you about 30-ish. New red zone, which obviously was a bit of a nightmare. And still, the mission like only worth like, what, 10, 15 stones if you do all the missions. Extreme Z Battle for Gohan, which is about 30 stones. Seriously Serious with all the EX missions can get you like somewhere like 20. I think a lot of the missions for that are only like 3 stones though. A new Infinite Dragon Ball History, so that's a good 20 odd stones for free as well. That's a good one. ESBR. So you can see like the pattern, just like with the Baby celebration, there's a lot more content in part 1. that actually drops stones. But even then, we're talking about, you know, 150 to 200 stones, not including login bonuses here for part 1. And with Goma, barely any content has dropped with stones. And then, of course, with the actual celebration for the manga characters, once you collected them all, you unlocked the special event, which was the special battle. And that did give you, I think if you did all the missions, that gave you roughly, I think it was just under, it was like 28 or 29 maybe, gave you just under 30 stones. So like with the day's login bonus and everything, doing that stage essentially gave you enough stones to do a multi on the banner. But as we've already said, unless you got insanely lucky, you're probably not going to pull every single one of the manga characters in one multi. I have seen it happen, like I did see screenshots of people actually doing it, but not going to be the case for most people. So that's something to really think about here. Like, I know, again, it's one of those things where it's very easy to just say, oh, well, you know, it's a gacha game, so it is what it is. And in a way, that is true. But it is crazy to think about with all of these banners dropping, like, in such a short period of time, how few, like, stones we actually have gotten. Especially, it's felt kind of crazy these last couple of weeks with the Daimogoku going straight into the manga units a week later, Goma a week later, and then potentially, like, we still don't know exactly when the Heroes EZAs are going to happen that are due for this year, because in theory they should have their own EZA banner for the ones that are going to get EZAs. That could be dropping on the 20th, like another week after this guy. Now, for some people it's not going to matter because you've already got those characters, they're just getting their EZAs, you don't need to summon. But for some people who don't have them, if they do actually make those EZAs really good, especially the Super Saiyan 4 ones, because all the Super Saiyan 4 Heroes EZAs are all going to be on Mini Goku's team, then that becomes a banner that people, again, another banner that people are going to want to summon on. And yet, I don't think, because we're not getting like a proper Heroes celebration or anything, like those Heroes EZAs are not going to drop with like a ton of content in order for you to like restock some of the stones that have been being spent over these last couple of weeks. So let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. I know Dokkan, like, this isn't unusual to have a period, but it's funny because people often joke, and we were talking about like with the sync and like global players getting used to the JP schedule, that like this is kind of like a dead time of year. But when you look at like everything that is releasing, especially with like Daimogoku was really good. The manga units are really just for collection. They might never come back, so a lot of people really wanted to get them while they're here. Goma is like potentially literally the best unit in the game. With all this stuff coming out so quickly back to back, it is also just very odd to me that they dropped Goma and then they're not dropping like any of the other content that comes out in part 2 with him until like a couple of days after he comes out. But again, you can put all of that down to potentially like, are they doing that on purpose as a deliberate tactic so that then you buy stones? Because Goma's come out, there's no content really to do to get stones for him. You see everyone talking about how he's the best unit in the game, so you buy stones and then summon for him. So let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. One of the things we always talk about with Dokkan is pacing. I think it would be much better to have the banners maybe a little bit more spread out and then content dropping in a more spread out fashion. This is something we've talked about for years, rather than them dropping like 5 events on one day and then nothing comes out for like a whole week. And then maybe like the week later for part 2, it's like a single EZA. And so instead of doing like 5 events on day 1 and then like an EZA a week later, you could easily spread those 5 events out like every 2 or 3 days. And then that gives you content for like that 2 weeks essentially. But yeah, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. At the end of the day, gacha's gonna gacha. Like, I'm sure some people that's, you know, will just say that is how it is. But I just thought it was interesting to point out just how much stuff has been going on and how short of a gap there has been between some of this stuff, right? All these 3 back to back, like week to week, and then going from this banner in the Tanabata celebration to the next Dokkan Fest like a week later is a pretty crazy run of banners. So let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. What are your thoughts on this kind of pacing? Have you had to skip banners that you would have wanted to summon on? Have you had to skip, like, I know some people might be in a similar position. I really wanted to get the manga units, so I finished doing my summons for them and rainbowed them all, and therefore then had no stones to summon for Goma. So kind of crazy, but Let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Masked Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.